Oh, hello. Welcome. Welcome to the podcast. It's Canada Day, July 1st. If you're in the States, it's nothing. It's just, I guess it would be the pre weekend before your July 4th holiday weekend. But welcome if you're here and you're catching the podcast. Thanks for joining in. I'm going to make this one kind of quick today because it is gorgeous outside. And for whatever reason, every Monday seems to want to be gorgeous here where I live. So, hey, what's up, Static Mouse? There's Kent. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man. Yeah, it's gorgeous outside. So I have had a couple of the brewskis. I've been outside. I have a pool. If you've been watching the podcast, you know I have a pool. I have a very nice setup outside. So I typically host people. So I have people over, and they're all out chilling outside while I shoot the podcast inside. So it's it's what it is. Mondays started as wasn't going to be a you know I don't know, like a day for this kind of stuff. But like I said, if the weather's no good on the weekend, well, you gotta take what you can on a Monday. I'm good, buddy. I'm great. The weather is so good. How are you, man? Yeah, got a few things to talk about this week. Like I said, I'm gonna be kind of quick. Probably gonna be banging this out in about a half hour, not even. We're just gonna talk about the Supreme Court ruling that's in favor of Trump. You got a 6-3 ruling. We'll talk about that. I'm not going to get too much into it, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing for democracy, like they always say. It's just a good thing in general, I think. So we'll talk about that. Also, we're going to talk about the France elections. I know you might think, why is this relevant to us over here? It's quite relevant. I've they say far right, a further than center right group won in France. And Macron, the incumbent, didn't even finish second. So it's it's a pretty big deal over in France. Some big changes maybe in the EU, which could mean some worldwide changes and a bit of people waking up to the old sauce, if you will. So we'll talk about that. Also, we're going to talk about the world running out of sand. This is going to sound weird to you, but yeah, we're running out of sand. It sounds like a silly thing, but it's not a silly thing at all. It's quite a big thing because they use sand for everything: glass, concrete, so construction, numerous different things, other things that aren't even so pertinent as those two things. So running out of sand is a big deal. I think it's in the top 5 anyway. It might even be the second most used resource on this planet other than water. So running out of it's a big deal. We're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to talk about Jeff Epstein. There's some new documents surfacing about his original case back in the 2000s. Probably going to get me canceled, but we're going to talk about that. So, I've just got 4 topics today to talk about, not the usual 6, because like I said, I want to bang this out. And I want to get back out in the very lovely weather outside. I have a couple more brewskis before the sun sets, and it's time to call it end to the day. So if you are watching and you enjoy the podcast, best way to support the channel is to like the videos, subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber, and share the content. These 3 things, engagement, helps small channels push their content out and get in front of more eyes. And really, that's the big thing. With a channel like mine, if I talk about things like I'm going to talk about on this podcast and then I release the videos, well, it gets throttled down a little bit. They don't like to push that kind of content. So if you take a look at my channel and you look at some of the videos that I've posted, you'll notice stuff that I talk about that has no relevance to politics or any of that kind of stuff. Well, that's typically does pretty well. The stuff that has political relevance, especially with certain candidates, just gets throttled down to nothing. So, the best way to help that out is to share it and, and do your thing. Don't trust the notifications because they don't work half the time. So, as far as brewski wise lately, well, if you've noticed, if you look back at podcasts, I drink Bud Light Lime. I like that. The problem with that though is it does screw with your stomach after a bunch of them, but it's tasty as hell. I've been drinking Sleem and Clear. That stuff's pretty easy on the stomach. I try and drink light beer because when I'm out by my pool, I drink a lot. Like I can pound a good, 12, 15, 20 beers, tall boys. And, if you're drinking some harder beers, it's a little tough on the stomach, a little tougher on the senses. So yeah, so that's typically what I'm drinking when I'm out drinking. But all right, well, yeah, let's get started, man. I don't see Joe. I don't know why Joe's not around, but Kent's here, so that's always cool. All right, let's go. Let's get to the first thing here. Let me pop this up here. Boop, boop, boop. And why is that not where? There it is. Okay, transition that over. Okay, if you're watching the news today, you know that there was a landmark decision in the Supreme Court, and it favors Trump, which is good. I mean, not likely, but good. Usually you'd think these kinds of things aren't going to favor him, but it did. So let me read this article here. This is from our best friends, the best broadcast company a lot out there, CNN. I mean, they just constantly put out some good stuff. I mean, they're not the worst out there. Not at all the worst out there. Let's see what they have to say. Takeaways from the Supreme Court's historic decision granting Donald Trump immunity. The Supreme Court handed down a landmark decision Monday granting Donald Trump partial immunity from special counsel Jack Smith's election subversion. I'm thinking about my pool. Handing the former president a significant win during his re-election bid. Though the 6-3 ruling technically allows Smith to inch the prosecution toward resolution, the majority opinion from Chief Justice John Roberts left many technical questions unresolved, making it increasingly unlikely that a trial can get underway before the November election, which would obviously be something that they would want to do because anything to sully this dude is the way to go. The president is not above the law, Roberts wrote for the conservative majority, but Congress may not criminalize the president's conduct in carrying out the responsibilities of the executive branch under the Constitution. Smith's case now returns to lower courts, which must review the specific steps Trump took to overturn the results of the 2020 election and whether those actions were official and therefore receive immunity or private and do not. Here's a look at the key takeaways from the historic decision. So Trump got a bigger win than expected. In several key respects, Trump got what he wanted from the 6-3 court and more. For starters, the Supreme Court ruled that for core presidential activity, Trump has the absolute immunity he had sought. The majority said that Trump's conversations with the Justice Department, his efforts to try to get officials on board with his effort to overturn the election, were covered with absolute immunity. I love the writing of this article. It's very spun, we'll put it that way. For other official actions and more routine powers held by the president, the court said there is at least some immunity, and it largely deferred to lower courts to sort that out. That's a process that could take weeks or even months. The analysis about who's immune and what isn't ultimately is best left to the lower courts to perform, Roberts wrote. Perhaps even more important, the majority made clear that the official acts cannot be considered at all as evidence in a potential trial, which could make it much harder for Smith to prevail. Roberts also wrote that the lower courts may not consider a former president's motive, which may allow Trump's attorneys to argue that he wasn't attempting to overturn an election in his favor at all, which there's the caveat right there. That's the strongest caveat of the whole thing. It's intent, right? They're trying to get him on intent, that he was intending to do a thing. But just because he was questioning the election results and the legitimacy of the election itself doesn't mean that he was attempting to get anybody to necessarily do anything at all. So it's that's where that's what they're hinging their whole case on, is that he was trying to subvert the election, but that doesn't mean he was, which I don't agree. I don't think he was either. What's next in the federal case against Trump? With justices giving the lower courts some limited guidance, the next steps are likely to be more hearings, written arguments, and even proceedings with witness testimony and debates over evidence before U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan in Washington, D.C. Those are likely to come in the days after the Supreme Court hands the opinion down formally to the federal courts in D.C. The mechanism for sending a case back down usually takes about as long as a month, but the high court could act more quickly. Once Chutkan works through the legal issues, it's possible that more appeals of her preliminary decisions could put the case on hold again, adding in significant delay. So I'm not going to read the rest of this. It's just talking about a little bit more slanderous stuff towards Trump, calling him, a king above the law and all this bullshit. Yeah, but the good news here is that the Supreme Court seems to be ruling in some favor of Trump, and the delay of it, if it gets at least past the election, is not going to add some extra, for lack of a better word, bullshit prior to the election, right? We just need this election to just to get to it, let the people vote for what they want, and get past it and see what happens instead of more interference against the candidate, as we've been seeing. Whether you agree or not, I would think it's hard to disagree at this point that somebody's not trying to stop the former president from running again. Yeah, 15 to 20. Yeah. Well, hey, man, when it gets sunny outside, oh, geez, I can drink a lot of beers. I can pound about 5 in the first hour. Let's put it that way. Anyways, yeah. Some crazy stuff. That's, it's good news for Trump at this point. So hopefully, hopefully he just gets past all this distraction. We can just have a fair election. If you watch the debates, you know that they were a bit of a shit show, especially one-sided. I don't think Trump looked particularly he wasn't as energetic and stuff as he normally is. So I don't know if they toned him down on purpose. He seemed to be sharper as far as staying concise and clear to the points, which was cool. But but Biden he just seemed to be a wreck. So I don't know. At this point, I think it's got to be a shoe-in for Trump. Just less distraction. It's nice to see the Supreme Court, putting a judgment that favors him at least. All right, Joe, there you are. You had to cook your burger. Well, hey, that's fine. We start at 7 though. I'd fire you, but I can't because for one, if I fired you, the show would probably just collapse. So I can't fire you, buddy. But listen, stern talking to. Starts at 7, man. I'm out of here soon anyway. So I'm gonna try and get another 15 minutes of this, and then I'm pitching outside, man. It's nice out there. It's 25 degrees and sunny, beautiful. Hopefully it's the same there where you are, Joe. Not to dox you in Michigan. If anybody finds you in Michigan, well, good on them, I suppose. All right, let's get on the next thing here. Boop, boop, boop. All right. Okay, so there's some stuff going on in France. Some pretty hairy political stuff. I don't know if you've been keeping up with this. I really haven't. I'm kind of I keep an eye on it, but not much. But this is pretty crazy. Without further ado, I'm just going to read the article, so you'll see what I'm talking about here. Not one more vote. Reactions as France's far right wins snap election. So Marine Le Pen and her far-right National Rally, RN, have won big in France's snap election, garnering reactions from domestic rival parties and politicians abroad. The RN, who close to 34% close to 34% of the vote in the first round of the parliamentary election, in what was a major victory, but not one that gives the party an absolute majority in the parliament. They kind of run like Canada, right? We have 3 parties, we have 4 parties, but technically 5 if you count the Green Party, but it's kind of a laughable party. Really, we have 3 strong parties. We have the Liberals, we have the Conservatives, and we have the NDP. And so France is much like us that way, where they have 3 hard parties, and then usually what they get to happen is 2 parties will kind of align with themselves to get anything done in Parliament. Same thing as Canada. But I digress. Here we go. So Le Pen, trailed by the left-wing New Popular Front, NFP coalition with about 39. Let's see. With about 29%, and President Emmanuel Macron's centrist ensemble alliance with about 20.5%, called on the French citizens to vote for her party during the second round. Despite his defeat, Macron, whatever you want to say, welcomed a high turnout of 65.8% and reiterated his call to stand up to the far right in the second round. Faced with National Rally, the time has come for a great union, clearly Democratic and Republican for the second round, the president stressed in an official statement. Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the leader of the center-left, said the president suffered a hard and indisputable defeat and was to blame for the shock decision to dissolve parliament, but stopping the far right was the priority. Not one more vote for the RN. Not one more seat for the RN, he emphasized. In her first comments following the French first round results, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni on Monday said the constant attempt to demonize far-right voters was losing impact. Same kind of thing is happening over here. The constant attempt to demonize and corner people who don't vote for the left is a trick that fewer and fewer people fall for, Meloni said, or told the, I don't even know what the hell, the Ad Chronos news agency. In the United Kingdom, election candidate Keir Starmer, what's with these names, from the Labour Party said the far-right victory in France proves the left must show only progressives have answers to problems in the UK and across Europe. We have to make the progressive call, but we have to, in making that, understand why it is, certainly in the UK, after 14 years of chaos and failure, that people do feel disaffected with politics. Return politics to service and continue to make that argument that politics is a force for good, he said. Israel's diaspora minister, try this one, Amika Chikli, said he was impressed by the positions adopted by Le Pen, adding that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is also seemingly of the same opinion. Chikli told Cannes public broadcaster on Monday that it would be excellent for Israel if Le Pen became president in France, given her firm stance against Hamas, the International Criminal Court, and anti-Semitism. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk. That's funny. Actually, I didn't even know that's his name. Donald Tusk. That's close. Come on, man. I had a letter and change a couple, and boom, we got another Trump. However, issued a warning about the far right. They love Putin, money and power without control, and they are already in power and are reaching for it in the east or west of Europe, he wrote in a post online. They are joining ranks in the European Parliament in Poland. We reverse this fatal tide in the very last moment. Let's not waste it, he added. Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz and his cabinet appeared to be respecting an unofficial ban on commenting on foreign elections. But Michael Roth, a member of Scholz Social Democrats, said the party is to blame for not better supporting the pro-European liberal president in France. So what's going on here, just to summarize this kind of thing, I'm just kind of spinning on here. To summarize this, there is a bit of a push going on in the EU. There's a bit of a push going on over here in North America as well, where you're seeing this left progressivism being balked. You know, people are, the centrists are coming out and they're saying as the Overton window moves left and the progressives get further and further on their, whatever ideologies and progressive stance, they're really very left stances. Normal people are saying, no, enough's enough. So they're swinging back right. It's happening over in the EU. And it's happening here in North America. So I think this is kind of like domino effect. You're going to see a lot of this happening. France falling like this is, I'm sure a big surprise to them. So, I think it's a good thing personally. I think we're going to start to get a swing back to some normalcy, which would be nice. But we'll see. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I don't know. We'll just keep watching, I guess. Oh yeah. So what? Because I said 25. In American temp, that would be 85, something like that. I guess 80. Yeah, probably somewhere around 80, 83 to 85, somewhere in there. Because Celsius is like, so you double it and then you add 32, I think, or 30 or 32 to get Fahrenheit. So I agree with you. They were warned. They saw this coming. They should have saw it coming, and they tried to get ahead of it. But they see it coming over here, too, and they don't seem to be doing anything about it. So, do they do anything, or do they just keep tempting the fates? I'm glad they do. I'm glad they're too stupid to do anything about it, because at least they're not preventing the wave, So, all right. Anyways, let's get on to the next thing here, because we're at 20 minutes in, and I'm trying to go for 30 minutes today. All right. So the world is running out of sand. I hate to report it to you. But it's true. It's happening. We are legit running out of sand. Doesn't seem like something. It'd be like if I said, hey, we're running out of water. You'd be like, the world's full of water. Yeah, but we're running out of sand. I'm going to read this article here. This is a little bit ago. It's a little bit of time ago. It's The Week. Never really read anything by these guys, but it's kind of a science article here. Why is the world running out of sand? So an increased demand for the vital construction material is having a significant environmental impact. While our beaches and deserts may suggest otherwise, sand is actually in short supply, with an unprecedented surge in demand seriously depleting global supplies. A key component of concrete, glass, and other essential building materials, sand plays a crucial role in shaping and building our urban landscapes. But a 2022 study conducted by Leiden University in the Netherlands warned that sand demand is projected to rise by 45% over the next 4 decades. By 2060, the construction sector's annual consumption is expected to reach a staggering 4.6 billion tons, primarily driven by rapid population growth and economic development in Africa and Asia. It might seem strange that the world is facing a shortage of sand when it is found in virtually every country on Earth and seems essentially limitless, said BBC Future. But sand is the most consumed natural resource on the planet besides water, said the broadcaster. Some 50 billion tons of sand and gravel, called aggregate, is used every year in an amount large enough to blanket the entire United Kingdom. Wow. Much of the problem lies in the type of sand needed for construction, with desert sand largely useless to us as its grains are the wrong shape. Eroded by wind rather than water, they are too smooth and rounded to lock together to form stable concrete, explained the BBC. The sand we need is more angular stuff found in the beds, banks, and floodplains of rivers, as well as in lakes and on the seashore. So what's going on with the sand, what they're actually doing is they're dredging the oceans. So they got these large barges that are actually dredging. When dredging, obviously just scraping the bottom and stealing the sand from the bottom. When that happens, what do you think's happening? They're not. It's not like they're dredging around coral or sea life or any of that kind of stuff. They're disturbing the ecosystems of the oceans. Not only that, but they're actually displacing. Essentially, you're displacing water in the ocean. I know it doesn't sound like much, but you can displace water enough to actually start to raise the water level on islands, things like that. You can start to lose islands. There's reports that kind of stuff is happening. So this is not a well-known thing. A lot of people would know, but I challenge you, if you disbelieve what I'm saying, go do the research and find out for yourself. This is actually something that's really happening. But the staggering demand for the material means that riverbeds, beaches, and forests around the world are being stripped bare. And in a growing number of countries, criminal gangs have moved into the trade. Yeah, this is the weird thing too. It's like, black market for sand. How weird, eh? People will find a black market for anything to make money on, which has spawned an often lethal black market in sand. I just said that. The issue of sand comes as a surprise to many, but it shouldn't, says Pascal Peduzzi, a researcher with the United Nations Environmental Program. We cannot extract 50 billion tons per year of any material without leading to massive impacts on the planet and thus on people's lives. The problem has also been exacerbated by how poorly monitored sand consumption is, with policymakers having to rely on rough estimates of how much is used each year, unlike most other commodities. A landmark report from the UNEP in 2019 had to rely on data for cement, which sand and gravel are mixed with to make concrete, to land on a ballpark figure of 50 billion tons, said the news site. This figure exceeds the sustainable limits of sand extraction, and in some regions the shortages have already fueled targeted killings and the destruction of habitats. This just goes on about Christ, what can be done and that kind of stuff. Obviously, what can be done is we need to get better about what we're doing, what we're using for building supplies and such. Obviously, we've been using sand for, I don't even know. I mean, a long, long time. They've been doing concrete for a long time. They've been using sand as an aggregate for building since, probably predates the pyramids and such. But this is a problem, man. This is a problem that you're not really going to hear about. To heck with the global warming right now, if we can't shore up this problem. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do a little research of your own, and correct me if I've said anything that might be bullshit. What do you gotta say there? Home Depot's full of sand. Yeah, you know what? I know it's weird. If I go and try and get sand right now, I can go get sand, no problem. It's weird. There must not be a shortage at all. I have plants that need good drainage, so now I need to hoard sand and fertilizer. What's next? Orchid bank and perlite? Then the horticultural charcoal. Get out of here, man. You're just trying to show off your green thumb. Nobody knows what you're talking about, Joe. Listen, I know sand's at the beach, and I know it's in concrete, and I know it's in glass. So, there's that. Somebody's trying to get in right now, but I'm not letting them in. Go it! See, I told you, the party's outside, and they're trying to bug me right now. I had to lock them out. All right, let's get on to the next thing here so I can get this done and stop being interrupted. They don't realize I locked both locks. One of them has a key. They think they can open it. It's not going to happen. All right, here we go. All right, so it looks like the Jeffrey Epstein thing isn't over. There's some secret transcripts. I don't think we're going to hear the end of this one. I think this is going to be an ongoing thing. Let me read this. This is USA Today, so it's good. It's got to be. It's USA Today. Jeffrey Epstein secret transcripts. Victim was asked, do you know you're committing a crime? The Jeffrey Epstein saga began and could have ended in Palm Beach County, Florida in 2006. The Palm Beach Post, part of the USA Today network, sued in 2019 to find out why it didn't. Now, secret documents detailing what happened 17 years ago when Epstein was indicted on only a single prostitution charge are public. After a nearly 4-year court battle to obtain secret grand jury materials in the Jeffrey Epstein case, the Palm Beach Post has documents in hand, and reporters are poring over them to see why the serial sexual predator wasn't stopped by the first prosecutor to consider criminal charges against him. I wonder why he wasn't stopped. The Post sued for the release of the materials after it found in its 2019 investigation that then Palm Beach County State Attorney Barry Krischer undermined his own case against Epstein in 2006. His office never spoke with any of the victims, according to the state attorney's documents. And once Epstein's famous defense attorneys came to town, his office quit communicating regularly with police. In a highly unusual move, Krischer convened a grand jury, which is secret except in extraordinary circumstances such as these, to consider criminal charges against Epstein. During the proceedings, sources told the Post, prosecutor Lana questioned only one victim, a 14-year-old girl. Then undermined her own witness by using her MySpace pages. That tells you the time period, which were supplied by her defense attorneys and appeared to depict drinking, drugs, and simulated sex. Yet that one witness, a 14-year-old girl, stood up to a man who hobnobbed with the likes of former Presidents Donald Trump and Bill Clinton. I love how they got to put that in there. I got to stop right there. I love how they got to put that in there. First, they say former Presidents Donald Trump and Bill Clinton. No, Bill Clinton, in multiple times, there is no evidence that Trump was ever really hobnobbed anywhere with him, other than they were at the same place at times where he was there, where Trump was. Not like Trump went to a place where he was specifically, like the latter there. And there's other names to be putting in there. There's other bills maybe to put in there too. Hilarious. This is why you're a garbage network there, USA Today. This is why your publication is garbage, and people only make fun of it when they're reading it, like me. All right, here we go. The grand jury indicted Epstein on only one charge, felony solicitation of prostitution. What a John would face propositioning an adult sex worker. The mysterious outcome did not address the fact that police say they found multiple incidents of sexual abuse of about 24 underage girls. Palm Beach police thought the crimes were more extensive. They'd found 5 minors who were victims and whose accusations could prompt criminal charges, according to the law at the time. 17 witnesses, many of whom were 16 or 17 when Epstein abused them, could have backed up their stories, which were strikingly similar. Charges recommended by police could have put Epstein in prison for decades. He ended up spending 13 months in jail and left 6 days a week, 12 hours a day on work release. Yeah, that sounds like, he had a real tough sentence there. The outcome of the grand jury proceeding and another prostitution charge that Epstein pleaded guilty to allowed him to traffic, rape, and molest underage girls for 11 more years after he pleaded guilty. One victim's attorney estimates Epstein abused at least 500 victims. All right, that's about enough of that. Blech. I hate talking about this guy. It's so gross, and I've got people bothering me right now. Let me know what you think in the comments as far as is this going to be a new opening to this case or the Epstein thing? Oh, we'll have to see, I guess. These guys are idiots. I swear to God. I got a bunch of idiots outside. That's why I can't do this podcast. I shouldn't have even done the podcast, but I didn't want to cancel another podcast. All right. And what do you got to say there, Joe? Still growing your Christmas tree from last year. I'm hoping to be able to keep it alive for years to come. Yeah, well, that'd be cool, actually. Hey, if you're a horticulturist, that's a neat thing, man. I'm not. I don't like plants at all. I've got one here, though. Got a little one here. Oops. It's very real. Very real. What are you saying? It's just one of those little ones you get from like a big box store. I'm surprised they call Trump president. Yeah, I know. They like to call him Mr. That's irritating me. I hate that disrespect, calling Trump Mr. Trump. No, he's former President Trump. You call him President Trump, whatever you like. He's earned that distinction. All right, that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got for now. Now someone's trying to call me now. I love it. Thanks for joining the podcast, even though I've been distracted as shit from my outside friends and such. If you like the podcast and you're not already a subscriber, hit the subscribe. It doesn't cost you any money. The channel's growing slowly, so it's nice to see it growing, but you can help it grow faster by liking, sharing, all that kind of stuff. And if you missed any part of the podcast, just look for the videos. I post them from 5 o'clock through the week between Tuesday and Sunday, depending on how many segments I have in the show. But 5 o'clock Eastern time, you can look for them then. Obviously, to help out the podcast, or the channel, I should say, you'd share and like those and comment. And comments are fun for me. So comments, even if they're kind of nasty, as long as they're funny, I appreciate it. So, it helps the channel. And I get a laugh. And I always respond. I respond to pretty much everything unless it's just stupid and I don't want to respond. But pretty much everything, even if it's an insult, I'll try to come with a witty response back. Thanks, Joe, for being with me. Kent, thanks for jumping in on it, buddy. And anyone else who was watching and didn't jump into the comments, thanks for watching. Maybe next time, jump into the comments. I'll see you next week, whatever it is. I don't know, the 8th, I guess. Next Monday. And no, screw the Panthers. See you, Joe. See you, everybody. Thanks for watching.